What's up guys, I'm Goramoth and welcome to a brand new mini-series to wrap up the year. Myself and a few guests will be giving our top 5 games of 2015 and talking about just what makes them great. Today's just me as I talk through my personal top 5, but check back tomorrow for the start of the guests. So, a few quick and simple rules for this really. Obviously, I have to have played the game. Pretty straightforward, so there'll be a few games that maybe could be on my top 5 if I'd actually played them, but unfortunately I didn't get around to it. Bit unfortunate, I can think of at least one, but yeah. Apart from that, pretty much anything goes. If it came out this year, it can go on the list. Been a bit liberal, you can know. I've allowed people to pick like expansion packs and stuff because I figure it's kind of fair game. I mean, it's personal list, right? What you enjoyed playing this year. So, yeah, expansion packs and stuff, fine by me. Alright, so before I jump into my own personal top 5 list, I want to talk about the year 2015 in general, about how good it's been, because I think it's been a really good year for gaming. We've had a lot of good titles come out this year. You know, recently we've had Fallout 4, for example. We've had Legacy of the Void came out, Metal Gear Solid has come out. You know, we've had all these AAAs. We've also had like a few good indies come out, like Axiom Verge, which was a Metroidvania I really enjoyed. Undertale, of course, that one's kind of, yeah. And I mean, it's not across the whole year as well. I mean, right back in January we had Life is Strange. That actually started in January and finished recently, so that's all come out in the space of a year. Telltale have started doing the Tales of the Borderlands, I believe, started this year. And then we've had a bunch of good remasters too. We've had Grim Fandango remastered, for example, which to me is, I've said this multiple times on multiple occasions, but it's the best adventure game ever made. So 2015 honestly had something for everyone. I feel it's a really strong year, especially considering like last year, 2014 wasn't anywhere near as strong as this year. So 2015, man, really good year, really enjoyed it. Lots of good stuff that unfortunately I haven't even been able to play. Like this stuff come out such as Bloodborne, which unfortunately won't be on this list because I've never played it. And it looks like it'd be right up my alley, but I've managed to avoid taking in any spoilers for that game. I've kept myself completely out of it because I knew I wouldn't be able to play it, and I kind of want that new experience when I hopefully do eventually play it. So you're not going to see that on the list, but maybe it could have been if I got around to playing it. And that's just one example. There's a whole bunch of other games that have come out this year that I just haven't had a chance to play. And that's unfortunate because it's been a great year. So, with that out of the way, let's go into my list, which actually starts off with an honorable mention rather than number 5. So I wanted to give a shout out to this game because, okay, this slightly breaks the rule because I didn't play it, but I did watch it and it had me hooked. And that is Until Dawn. I watched the Scary Game Squad's playthrough of this game and it was incredible. That game just nailed exactly what it set out to do. It's not original, it's not anything special story-wise, but oh my god, they nailed the tropes. It is basically a tropey, fun, slasher, horror game thing, very much in the style of, you know, these sort of story games that you get nowadays, such as the Telltale or Life is Strange kind of stuff we've had. But I don't know what it is about that game, but it gripped me, it really did. And even though I didn't play it, and you know, that's kind of a reason to keep up the list, I did watch every minute of it on Scary Game Squad, and absolutely, it hooked me. It just really did. I found the story so compelling, even though it was fairly straightforward, to be honest, and a little predictable in places, but just the way they did it, and man, Until Dawn, probably the best damn game this year that I never played. So yeah, that's why it's an honorable mention rather than an actual like spot on the list, because I felt like I got enough experience out of the game just watching it to be able to say, guys, you should definitely check this out. So yeah, honorable mention. Alright, so number 5. What is my 5th best game of 2015? Well, it's Metal Gear Solid 5, everyone. Yeah. I don't think this is too much of a shock, really. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a fantastic half of a game, I think is the best way for me to put it. It is if the game was just chapter 1, it probably would have made the list. If the game was if chapter 2 was basically more of chapter 1 in terms of quality and stuff, this game would have probably been game of the year for me. It's such a weird predicament because I'm not a big fan of open world games. I think that's kind of obvious now if you've, you know, followed me a lot on stuff and heard my opinions on things. But So, like, Metal Gear Solid 5 does suffer in that aspect, in my opinion. The story isn't quite as compelling as previous installments in the series because of the open world. It does get hindered in that aspect, which is unfortunate. But the things you can do in that game is awesome. I personally found the story decent enough. I definitely wouldn't say it's the best Metal Gear story, but I thought what they did with it was interesting, and I wish it was finished. That's all I can really say about it. Chapter 2 is just an absolute disappointment, and I only say that as someone who loved Chapter 1 so much, and, you know, the game's 5th on my list, so it definitely, you know, deserves to be here. I'm not just saying it's a crappy game, but Chapter 2 is just an absolute train wreck. It's so obviously unfinished. It's padded out with repeat missions. It's just abruptly ends. Like, you can tell, like, there is a plot twist, story twist in that game, and they kind of just had to shove it in at the end without basically any reasonable lead into it, because they realized we have to ship this game. Konami is making us ship this game, so let's just shove in the twist here because we have to. And if you go and look up the potentially cut content, the Kingdom of Flies stuff, like, it's pretty interesting what they were going to do. It's a little unfortunate. The story isn't quite what I was expecting. If you go into this, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you go into this expecting this to be the link between how Big Boss goes from what he is in 3 and Peace Walker to being the bad guy that we know he is in Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid 1 and stuff like that, you're not going to get that. I mean, it kind of touches on it a bit, but not really. This is a different story, and it's just a shame that we didn't get to see Kojima finish it, but I don't want to stay on the downers. The game itself is fantastic. The stuff you can do in it is fantastic. It's very addictive. I'm still playing it even now. I'm still messing around with side ops and stuff. Like I said, not a big fan of open world games, but this one has actually gripped me fairly well and made me want to play it. It's like I finally got that game, you know. Most people like say they love open world games because they can just dick around in them. I finally got one that I enjoy dicking around in. It's Metal Gear Solid 5, so that's why it's my 5th choice. Alright, number 4, Shadowrun Hong Kong. Yeah, I love Shadowrun. Yeah, so a while back, Shadowrun Returns got kickstarted by Harebrained Schemes, Harebrained Schemed, sorry, I believe is the studio name. And it was okay. It was alright. It was reasonable, the story was okay, kind of interesting at points, but it was alright. Then Dragonfall came out, and yeah, that was a standalone expansion, and that was an immediate step up and made it infinitely better. And now we have Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is just as good. It's a standalone expansion for Shadowrun Returns, so it's essentially its own game, and it's just more of what we wanted. The story is pretty damn good. It's an entirely new setting. We get to see China, like Shadowrun China, so we get to see all the triads and the slums and all that stuff. It's a very different setting to the other two Shadowruns, which is pretty cool because that's something that's always good about them. Shadowrun Returns, you know, it's set in Seattle, I think it is. I don't remember. It's definitely set in the US. I think it's Seattle. Shadowrun Dragonfall, that was set in Berlin, or at least definitely Germany. It was set in like this place that doesn't actually exist in normal world, but yeah, that was set in Germany, so that was pretty cool. And now we get Hong Kong, so it's another change of setting, and I don't know, I think they did it again. They stepped up. Hong Kong is really good. If you enjoyed the previous Shadowruns, you will enjoy this one. It is more, like I said, it's just more of what the same. I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's a tactical turn-based strategy game, you know, squad-based. You have runners that all have the different powers. You have, like, you know, people who are good at guns. You've got magicians and shamans and stuff you can use. You've got deckers to hack into things, so you can hack stuff. You've got riggers, so you can fly around drones and stuff. So, I mean, if you've never heard of Shadowrun, you think maybe I should pick this up. Well, if you like something like XCOM, that'd be a reasonable example to compare it to. It's like fantasy XCOM-ish, except, firmly grounded in the Shadowrun universe, which is pretty damn cool because I'm a massive Cyberpunk fan, so it's just cool to me to see more Cyberpunk games because honestly there's not enough of them. There really isn't. I mean, we've got so few. We've got the Shadowrun series, we've got Deus Ex, we've got Satellite Rain. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head. It's why I'm so pumped about Cyberpunk 2077 coming out eventually in like 2 years time. So yeah, Shadowrun Hong Kong. It's my number 4. Alright, number 3. Wow, I feel a few people should have seen this coming. It's Blood Bowl 2. Yeah. So, if you've been watching the Dead Air Invitational Season 1, you probably already know why Blood Bowl 2 is in this list. It is such a nice improvement over Blood Bowl 1 or Chaos Edition. I mean, technically, it's technically a step back in terms of team content, but even before recording this, they're still working on adding more teams. They've announced 4 more, Norse, Undead, Necros, and I don't remember the last one. But yeah, they've got 4 more teams coming and all that stuff, and they're willing to update it. They've just recently patched it, so I mean, yeah, the only reason to play this over the only reason to play Blood Bowl 1 over this is to, have all the teams, because this is just a superior experience in terms of usability. It looks nicer. I've been playing Blood Bowl 1 specifically to get used to playing Norse again, because I want to play them when they come out in February. And my god, the differences are astounding. Just getting percentages for things makes it so much easier to work out a plan. It's just easier to formulate in your head. Everything is just a lot more visible and, cleaner. It's just generally a lot easier to see what you're doing and what the risks involved are, which then helps you make more informed decisions and in the end have a better game. Because let's be honest, the game itself basically hasn't changed. It's still Blood Bowl, the tabletop game. It's still the RNG dream destroyer when it wants to be. But I love it. I love the game. I don't know what it is. It's the strategy involved with the risk reward combined with... I've always been kind of interested in the idea of fantasy sports kind of stuff. I think that's really interesting, and Blood Bowl really nails it. Football's not very interesting, but Blood Bowl is. I can't really explain why. It's just a great strategy game, and Blood Bowl 2 is an absolutely massive improvement over the original. Just got to add in more teams, which they're doing, and yeah, it makes me very happy. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Just an improved and better version of Blood Bowl 1. Alright, number 2. This goes to Undertale, yes. What to say about Undertale, man, that hasn't already been said. The game is absolutely great. It really is. Okay, let me tell you a story. Let's see my first impressions of it, because I saw Dodger playing it, press out to continue on her stream, and I was like, it looks alright. I wasn't really a fan of the graphic style. I thought it was a bit simple, didn't seem to have much depth. Then something happened, something near the start of the game. She did something, and then restarted the game to change it, because she didn't like the outcome. And that's where the game suddenly went, you know what, we're not like other games. And I was like, holy shit, that's actually really cool. The best way I can describe Undertale is, if you go back to my video, I believe from 2013, I talked about Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. And this is basically the same thing. Undertale is a game that fully takes advantage of its medium. Just like you couldn't put Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons into a movie or a book and have it have the same impact as it does as a game, the exact same is true with Undertale. Undertale just wouldn't work as another form of media. You couldn't have an Undertale TV show or an Undertale book, or I don't know, radio play, and have it have the same impact as it is, because it fully exploits the fact that it is a game. It exploits the media format it is in, and that's really, really rare. And honestly, I feel like Undertale, love it or hate it, you can't deny the cultural impact this game has and potentially will have, especially on game development in the coming year or so. I'm very excited to see what, specifically indie games, because I feel like they're the ones that are going to be most influenced by this. I'm interested to see what they do. I'm so excited to see if people will take the message Undertale brings and take it on board and do things with it, because goddamn, what that game does is awesome. Plus, on top of that, the reason this is number 2 is not only all that stuff, it's a fantastic game. Like I said, my first impressions of it wasn't blown away, but then it started doing stuff and I started getting into it, and I realized the characters are fantastic in that game. When you start getting into it, they're very well written, they're very diverse, there's a lot of really cool ones. The music in that game is incredible. That's one of the best soundtracks I've heard in a long, long time. People should definitely go check that out. I mean, I mean, the amount of musical covers of Undertale songs I've seen on YouTube alone is mind-blowing, and it just shows how much people really like that soundtrack. I can't disagree, it is absolutely fantastic. On top of that, you've got some really cool boss designs, you've got a really interesting overall story, which ties back into what the game does as a game, as a piece of game media. And honestly, the battle system, when I first saw the battle system, I was like, I guess that's more creative, because I'm not a big fan of, the JRPG battle stuff. I find it kind of boring. But when I saw the bullet hell stuff at the start, it was like, I guess this is okay. But as you get more and more into the game, you start seeing how varied the attacks are in that game that the enemies can throw at you. It really captured me. I was like, okay, this is actually a lot more interesting than I thought it was, and that's cool. So yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to say about it. I just think the reason this is number 2 is because it's a really, really solid game, and it's, in my opinion, has had a massive impact culturally, and it absolutely deserves this slot. So yeah, my number 2, Undertale. Alright, here it is, my number 1 game of 2015. I'm going to start it off by sort of saying, picking this was actually kind of tricky because I liked a lot of games this year, as I've said, but I didn't really have one that stood out and was like, this is definitely number 1. Even Undertale, which I really liked, I didn't like it as much as some other people. So I was really struggling because I was like, I don't really have that number 1 game in my mind. There's nothing that's just clearly number 1. There's a lot of good games, but yeah. So what I decided to do was just take a good hard look at what I've been playing and yeah, go on that. And honestly, even though it's not technically a full game, my number 1 slot goes to The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. This is a big DLC expansion for The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and I've sunk about 150 to 200 hours into into Afterbirth alone. That's on top of the time I sunk into Rebirth. So yeah, I feel like that just has to take the number 1, right? I mean, I put so much time into it, and The Binding of Isaac is a game I play whenever I've got some free time and I don't really know what I want to do, kind of idle time between things. I play it while I'm rendering, I play it when I'm a little bit bored. It is such a great time-killing game. What is there to say about The Binding of Isaac that hasn't already been said by other people who are just, better at this than me? It is a fantastic game. It has insane replay value, the craziness you can get from combining all the different items, which, Afterbirth adds crap ton more stuff. So, there's even more possibilities of random shit mixing together in ways you didn't expect now. Every expansion makes this game better, pretty much. What else did Afterbirth add? Oh yeah, Afterbirth added, they did an ARG, augmented reality game. You should go and check out, I think the best place to check it out is, documented together is on the Binding of Isaac subreddit, reddit.com/r/Binding of Isaac. They basically did and by they I mean the creators, they did an augmented reality game where to sort of hide one of the characters in the game, and it involved all kinds of crazy shit, and it's really awesome to read about. So if you're kind of interested in that thing, you should go and check out that. I mean, okay, so what did Afterbirth add? That's probably a good place to sort of continue with. So it added new characters, at least 2, which I won't say the names of in case you don't want spoilers, but yeah, 2 new characters, an entirely new mode, Greed Mode, which is actually a lot of fun to play, kind of messes with the normal way the game is played. It's like a very different kind of mode. It turns it into more of an arena survival brawl thing rather than just a straight, roguelike run game. What else did I add? A crap ton more items, as per usual. I added a bunch of new trinkets, bunch of new passive items, new active items. And yeah, it's just more content again, and the game just gets better for it pretty much. And I think that's just a great thing. The Binding of Isaac is a fantastic game, and more Binding of Isaac is always good. So like I said, this pretty much takes my number 1 because of pure playtime, and I just keep going back to it, and there's nothing else this year that kind of, like I said earlier in the list, Metal Gear Solid 5 will probably be up here if the grievances I had with it didn't exist, but they do, and it's unfortunate. So I go with the other game that I played a shit ton of this year, and that is Afterbirth. So yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, that's my number 1, my best game of 2015, Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. So yeah, that is my top 5 games of 2015. But one last thing before I go, I'm going to talk about what I'm most excited for in 2016. It's pretty tricky, but I'm looking forward to 2016. There's a few different games that are coming out. You got XCOM 2 in February. That's definitely pretty hype for that, even though I haven't played a lot of the original XCOM. But not original, the new remake version, you guys know what I mean. Deus Ex in August. Sad that got pushed back, but also like fine with it at the same time. It's one of those kind of, I'm glad they're taking the time to finish the game, or at least polish it and stuff, So that in that sense the delay's good. I'm sad about the delay in the other sense because I want to play the game. But yeah, we got Deus Ex next year. Obviously, I mentioned earlier while talking about Shadowrun, it's not next year, but Cyberpunk 2077. So hyped. I really, really want this game to be good. There's not enough Cyberpunk RPGs. There really aren't. And I need more. I need more Cyberpunk in my life. So yeah. What else is coming out? Twilight Princess HD is coming out. And also the new Zelda Wii U, whatever they're calling it. I'm not really sure. I think that's due at the end of the year. We have new Star Fox. Oh my god, I'm so hyped for 2016. And I feel like it's either going to equal or potentially top 2015. So pretty hyped about what's coming. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Check back tomorrow. I'll have a new episode up with a special guest, so look forward to that. Let me know down in the comments section, what you thought of my list, and maybe leave your own list of the top 5 games of your year, because that'll be pretty interesting to read. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, or maybe even favorite it. And if you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe, because more subscriptions always really nice. Glad to know you guys are enjoying my videos. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.